everyone, welcome back to Souls Wide Open. I'm Justin. I'm back with my dear friend Chelan. This is a podcast where we really are focusing on love and truth. And I always say, and following our soul's desires, which we are going to focus even more so on today, desires. I'm really excited to be exploring the concept of desires with Chelan. We both are in some really cool situations that we want to kind of explore a little bit more so on the like romantic love side of desire and what it means to be in those kinds of relationships. So that is what we're going to do today. Shalane, can I just hand it right over to you and let you kind of dive in? We'll start exploring this
Yeah,
concept of desire.
well, yeah, and a lot of what I'm going to share about is actually is like the breaking out of the opposite of desire relationship, which is like I guess you could call them like trauma bond is a commonly used phrase, or just like basically a bond with someone that's there to enable us from growing into our truest, wholest self. And yeah, so Justin, as you know, I've just had such a wild couple of years. Basically with Justin's friendship and support, experimenting with moving towards things that I was really drawn to. I feel like there's almost a magnetism in these things that are based on desire. And we can, like block that magnetism, but that force is always there. And so you helped me uncover this incredible pull to publish a book of my poetry, and which I did, and oh my God, and it's changed my life. But yeah, so just the difference I feel in these different ways of relating, from like let's see, feeling like we need something, or we should be doing something, or being with someone, to like just really, really wanting to be. It's like it's just a whole different energetic experience, right? And so I used to work as a hypnotherapist, and that was like a good job. It was a good job. I made $90 an hour. It was, meaningful and stuff. But in my body, if I were to listen in to the energy about it, like, oh my God, there was always resistance in me. And I loved when clients canceled. I always wanted them to cancel, is the truth. So it was like, it just felt like, and I kind of was trying to talk myself out of that and just say, like, Shlan, have a better, different attitude about this. But that was the relationship with hypnotherapy. And it wasn't that hypnotherapy was bad. It's just that wasn't really a match. But then experiencing how it feels with poetry, and writing and public speaking, as I'm now doing, it's just like it's like a full body yes to it. And it doesn't mean that there aren't obstacles or big, hard challenges that come up, but it's like I absolutely want and am deeply motivated to work through those because of the just powerful, irresistible, magnetic love and pull that I have toward this thing, rather than it just being a grind or drag, or like a stuck in the mud sort of feeling. And that's sort of my take too on how romantic love can feel. And like my relationship of 11 years and marriage of 8 has been like really, the forms of it have been totally deteriorating. And that's because it was also coming from that place of not fully truly listening and honoring and being listening to my joy and the movements of my joy. So anyway, that's it for now. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, what I'm just hearing you really express is this transition. And I see this with so many of my clients, right? So many people are out in the world doing something that seemed to fit a checklist or was like the reasonable, smart thing to do with
Yeah.
like, attributes of what they may want to spend their time doing. I can also very much so align this to my past career as a dental hygienist. It's like everything made sense. It was a good job with a steady, reliable, very predictable future in everything
Yes.
from pay to scheduling to like I mean, everything was so clear that it made it an easy yes. Plus, like, I really, really valued caring for humans. I really valued health. And so there was just so many things that like it made sense. And so I see so many people
Mhm.
stepping into these things that make sense. And everyone around them's like, that's great. It makes sense. It's so, it's so
Yeah.
and safe essentially. But like that's what everyone, okay, it feels safe. It feels controllable. Like, great, good for you. And then actually what it is just like this kind of um there's this huge emptiness because I chose it for, although some parts of it connected to who I was, so much of it didn't. And so at the end of the day, here I am with a bachelor's. I had 6 years in a career, and at the end of it, I was just like, gosh, I've tried everything and it's just not connecting to me. And
Mm-mm.
and then what I
Yeah.
did, thankfully, wasn't go find something else that seemed to fit a similar, like, safe,
Yeah.
really predictable outline. I was willing to
Mhm.
step back and actually check in with my soul, which is so much of what like you and I are now experiencing with our careers, our relationships. But to do that is very vulnerable. Um, it really takes you out of the things that you've been trained or taught to be the safe and like even I'm kind of lost for the words of reasonable, right? Or like it's yeah, what's a better word than safe? Like what other kind of words do you feel resonate with that feeling of um this is just like a good choice, you know?
Mm, yeah. I don't know. Practically
Practical,
responsible,
responsible,
impractical.
yeah. Yeah, and everyone
But
just kind
safe.
of like, huh? Go ahead, yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, 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 no. That's good. Um,
I think safe really is the word, I think, though,
okay.
because that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? Like wanting to be safe from judgment, from societal eye, wanting to be financially safe, wanting our identities to seem intact, or even if we're wanting to seem responsible, if it's almost like it's all those sorts of choices are always like covering up some kind of fear or something, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And that's why
Um,
we don't go into our passion or our soul's desires right away, is because there's something about them that will often, and not everyone, like there's a lot of people out in the world that you are just like, holy moly, like look at them go. They love what they do so much. They're so successful. They're so into it. Like not everyone has the same story of starting out, not, being willing to dive into their desires. But so many of us have been trained that like, oh, like let's say you want to be an artist, like how many people get told that you'll never make money. It's so hard. It's just so saturated with there's just too much art. Like you're gonna have to be so good at it. You won't be famous till you die. Like whatever those stories are, like there's so many
yeah.
people that get shut down and then don't follow their desires, but then end up like coming to me or a life coach or something and going, I have no idea why I can't find any satisfaction or fulfillment in my life. And it's like, well, you have all of these belief systems and all these stories telling you that like your soul desire is not a good choice. And so
Mm.
it does take some of us like a lot of courage and a lot of experimentation and a lot of willingness to go to those scary, vulnerable places to go fulfill your desire. And I think it'll be really interesting now to hear more about the relationship part of this, because this is like you and I have been experimenting with our careers a lot and like and diving into that. But now we've both stepped out of relationships that were more of that like, and I wouldn't say checklist, right? Like once again, there were still really loving components. I'm sure you can agree with that. I know I did with my past relationships, but there was also this safety net a little bit. And like things that made them feel once again reasonable or maybe even practical. And yet, oh, is that why you want to be in a relationship? Like, I don't know.
Totally. And yeah, another thing like with the hypnotherapy to poetry comparison, and that is such a parallel I think for these relational journeys, is that like yeah, for sure my hypnotherapy work, it was yeah, and I like how you said it had some attributes that matched, because it's not like a black or white. Some things are perfect and great, well some things are actually, but then the other, it doesn't mean that exactly that the other things are all bad. And that's what makes it a complicated thing to navigate. But and involves so much deep, sensitive listening, really, but to ourselves. But yeah, with hypnotherapy, it really was coming from this belief that like, oh, a total belief in limitation, that I couldn't go to, I couldn't imagine having the tolerance to go through like a grad school program to, get the money that I wanted. There were a lot of job situations that just with my ways and patterns, like just, I didn't feel like they could be sustainable. I was scared as hell, is the truth, about not being able to provide for myself. And so this came along and it was like, yes, this, okay, I'll just do this. And, and it did give me a little bit of, it was like an unusual path, which I like, and I don't know, all of that stuff and whatever. And same with my husband, Noah, he's still my husband. I'll just share this part about this, is that I'll only share things that I know he would be, comfortable with me sharing. Yeah, I mean, similarly, I was 21 when we met, and I just had this crazy year of like, just like a lot of vulnerabilities exposed that I didn't know how to work through. And then, yeah, Noah came along, and it was also just like, oh, him. And it was such a, and it was a place of growth, as was hypnotherapy. Like I did learn a lot with Noah. And there were a lot of lessons, essential lessons in love, as there were a lot of essential lessons in just life and leadership and work with hypnotherapy. But almost foundationally, I feel like some of the motivation and the intention behind all of that was self-protective rather than affirming of potential. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I as you're sitting here, speaking about your relationship, I'm just comparing what I'm in a new relationship. It's very
Mm-hmm.
new, only a couple months, and it's been, kind of like a slow but also intense, like kind of dive in. Um,
Yeah.
and oh, sorry, really quick. It's always so fun. I just had a huge hawk fly by my window. Love that as I'm talking about this. So fascinating. Anyways, so yeah, so new relationship and lots of truth in it, lots of wanting for us both to be super vulnerable and like very transparent, and it has allowed for a lot of depth really quickly.
Yeah.
But also a huge shift in this relationship, what takes it out of the safe realm for me and is really exposing a lot of my insecurities, and you could even say wounds, is he is a very independent person, super independent. We joke, and I mean maybe even are a little bit serious about the fact that he really doesn't like need me in any kind of like codependent ways, right? Like, so we don't have a
Yes.
relationship based in codependencies. He's in it because he genuinely wants to be in it, but not because he like needs me to fulfill his, feeling like a man, or he doesn't need me to like reassure him that he's, doing the right things,
Yes.
or that he doesn't need me to make him food. He doesn't need me to care for him. Like he actually is like so good about that it has sparked up all kinds of stuff within me where I have all of these kind of like empty spaces where I'm like, wait a minute, like you don't need me to do anything. Like, why would you even have me around almost? Or like,
Yes.
and so I've been feeling all of this like loneliness, all of this lack of worth. And don't get me wrong, what's so beautiful is that it's helping me heal those things and I can see that. But nonetheless, like he's in this relationship from a place of desire, not because he needs me. And it's encouraging and then letting me also show up only because I just gotta want it. Like I just have to desire it. And like I can't enter into codependencies with him. And it's so cool. But of course, like
Yeah.
also really scary and takes me out of all of the like little hooks that get you into someone and goes, oh, okay, this is safe because like I can fulfill that need for him.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've been thinking about that so much, about as I let go of those hooks with Noah, realizing that like that way of being needed, which was the character of my relationship with Noah, needing, basically believing this idea that we needed each other and playing that out. That makes things feel safe, and it ties people to each other in a way, and that those ties like mask as security. And then there's this, I've always had this fear that in like letting people go, letting partners go, that will be loss, that like liberating them from my nets, my hooks and things will mean loss and abandonment. And right. But really I'm like, moving through this territory of realizing, no, like it's setting them free to love, actually. And because those hooks are fear, and fear isn't love. I mean, it's a self-protective type of love in a way, but it's not, it's not desire. It's not true love. And
it's
so
crazy
anyway, that's
how bad how terrible our definition of love is. Like this, it's not love at all, but yeah, totally.
It's not love at all. And we really have to liberate each other and ourselves to even have the possibility of love. And what that means, right? What we know so well is that act of liberating another means taking care of our own feelings, essentially, our own deep pain, and rather than expecting another to enable us and take care of that and validate us and give us the feeling of being, worthy if we haven't found that ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and so
yeah.
What's really cool is that I joke with this person, and I'm like, I have like a legit 7th grade crush on you. Like I'm so enamored with this person. And like thank you universe for like knowing me well enough to like bring this person in such close proximity to me that like it's pretty cool. But what's really special about that too is that it's so motivating to see myself desiring from such a loving place that when these scary hooks or things that I want to have a relationship protect me from and help me avoid feeling like in my past relationships. And it's so funny how subconscious this stuff is, right? Like I had no idea. And I don't think most of us do, that we are choosing partners to protect us from our wounds in so many deep ways. Like it really is crazy. With only retrospect can I like start to understand how much of my past relationships were just to keep me out of feeling lonely, to keep me out of feeling insecure, to keep me out of feeling unloved. Like this relationship though is allowing, because there's so much gift of love, so much free flowing love that's really only as a gift. Like there's no strings attached. But it also is and while that's so beautiful, it's inviting me into feeling loneliness and feeling these things that I wouldn't allow the past relationships to expose me to. Like,
wow.
Like I would never allow like a boyfriend to like perpetually leave me feeling lonely. Like that's how I would define it. I'd be like, well, hey, I'm lonely. Like, come on. Like, why aren't you hanging out with me? Like, we need to spend more time together. I demand more of your energy. Like all that kind of stuff. And now when I'm lonely, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me feeling lonely. I need to own why I feel lonely. And then of course it goes down to all of these wounds that really just emotionally taking responsibility are transforming and healing and moving. But I'm no longer demanding the relationship to do that. And just for those simple steps alone, it's allowing us to be in so much more love. And like my desire to be in the relationship is just that much deeper too. Like it's so cool to see how, oh my gosh, I don't need this person to protect me from all this stuff. That's mine. I can take care of that. I get to show up in this relationship because I love this human. And oh, I just desire to spend time with him. And this is also what's really fascinating. Although I desire to spend time with him, and although there's this like longing of my soul to like engage with him and do all that stuff, I'm also so detached from it. I'm also like,
Yeah.
yeah, when I see you, like, I cannot wait to see you, but I guess I can. Like, we're good. Like, you take your time when you're ready, when we're, there's also this element of like, I don't need you to protect me from my life experience. And so, whether that's painful or whatever, like, I trust that, like, if you and I are going to see each other, we're going to see each other. And there's just so much more pure desire and like love and longing in that versus, versus just having him around to like keep me in a really safe space, I
Yes,
guess. Yeah.
totally. And there's so much like manipulation of the life force that moves through these people when we get into these entitled places of thinking that we are justified in controlling their desires toward us or not. You know what I'm saying? Like when we think people need to do X, Y, and Z to like our partners to like make us feel good. It's just like, it's like grabbing the river of life and trying to like mess with it. And it feels so dirty. It feels so violating and vandalizing. And that doesn't mean that we don't deserve to be loved and respected. We do. It's just that we need to take care of these wounds that just exist in us. They don't
Yeah.
exist because the other person, like that person's calling them forth for us to like see them and tend to them and steward them through and grow. And oh God, and then and it just like, I don't know, I've just been thinking about this a lot, how it just affirms trust in life to be in this process of bit by bit entering this place of love and healthy respect and detachment for the other and their way.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the first podcasts we talked about, I don't know why exactly I mentioned that like I had split with my partner of that time and that we were doing it in a way that we both were like just really desiring to become whole. And
Mm,
I think because there was this recognition that we were leaning on each other in ways that were really unhealthy and that we weren't really just willing to own our shit, essentially. So that the relationship wasn't this like middle ground of like protecting each other's wounds. And
yeah.
and of course that partner and I like we're still friends and we're still, like we still communicate and talk about even these things at times, but I think we realized that a lot of, or I mean, at least I feel like I'm really realizing that a lot of our relationship was very wound protecting based. And so,
Wound protection. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so then this relationship protects almost none of my wounds. Like, I
Yes.
mean, it is, it is so far from a safe relationship. Like, there's so many parts of it that like are like seemingly so dangerous for my wounded self to be engaging with. She's just like inside of me, like, what are you doing so often?
Free falling. Yeah. Oh, I hear you. I hear you 100%.
Yeah.
And right. And so it can feel more intensely painful actually to
Yeah.
step into these things that are actually desire based because they are, like we said, they're more exposing. We're not using the same strategies for protection.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. And then I want to share another angle of this experience for me too,
Great.
which is that like with poetry, so basically like it's been so amazing how much incredible like heaps of affirmation I've gotten through stepping into this poetry path. It's been unreal. But even with like receiving this tsunami of love and celebration, like from an international audience, which has been the coolest thing ever. Even like it's so interesting. It's like almost no matter which path we take, the fear path or the desire path, like it is, I feel in some ways trying to coax out the same sorts of things. Like before stepping into this, I had some self-worth issues that were blocking me from fully sharing my poetry. And that was uncomfortable, to like be limiting myself and whatnot. But like, and there, I did have some experiences earlier with like submitting poems to magazines or whatever and getting getting some like hard feedback. And so there was this humiliation that brought up my self-worth issues. But then like stepping into this new space and getting all this love, like it still brings that same stuff up, because these are the areas that we ourselves haven't been willing and able to like own and feel this love inside of ourselves and this worthiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I
So
guess,
you
and
go ahead.
yeah. And then too, in relationships, like I was in this marriage and I was always like, love me, essentially was my role, more or less. And had this idea that like, he wasn't loving me enough. That was my really false limited assumption, really, was that was the issue, was that he was limited in showing me love. But stepping into a new space, like even when I am receiving like the most like beautiful expressions of love, in my poetry or from another person or whatever, now I'm like, oh God, oh, love, it's like I'm recognizing my own shields to that, and my own ways of rejecting love, as I was doing all along with Noah. So it's interesting.
It's so fascinating because one of the things that I really work with people, I mean, obviously myself too, but like is until we start being honest about what our desires are, and like let's say it's just to be loved in general, or maybe
Yeah.
specifically with a partner or whatever. Like once we start identifying that that's what we're really desiring, or that we think we want to desire that, right? Then we start noticing all the reasons that we actually don't desire it and why we're not actually creating it. And there's
Yes.
all of these, like one of my biggest ones has been just that I like truly at the deepest layer of me that I'm like still continuing to peel at is I really just don't think I'm important enough to be loved. And I don't think people, I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, yeah, I feel that way too. I'm like, oh my God, though, like, holy crap, to sit there and like like really feel into I'm not important enough for this person to take time out of their day to like
Yes.
get back to me or like to spend time with me, like to genuinely feel like you aren't even worthy of that. Like, no wonder when we have these desires of being loved, we like cut ourselves so short because we have just these like huge fears, these huge beliefs about the world and about other people and ourselves, that it's like it's so much easier to find the safe route than actually go
Yes.
and say I want to be loved as I am, and by someone that will show up for me and like genuinely want to spend time with me all the time. When you have a wound that says but you're not important enough, like that's a huge thing to take on, even though I mean, it sounds so elementary, but oh my gosh, these things rule our lives in such intense ways. And that's why I was saying, like, it's so important to start really getting clear with yourself about what you desire, because only then can you actually start seeing what your beliefs are about the world and yourself and the wounds that you have, because those are the things that are holding you back. Like, those are the things, and like, even you just saying, like, wow, holy crap, I started receiving all this love. And then it was like showing me like all the reasons why I didn't want this love and why that's so scary and so intense. And this is
Yes.
what's so cool about desire is that when you're willing to get vulnerable with your desire and you're willing to actually put it out to the world very lovingly goes, awesome. I love this desire for you. I want to help you get
Yeah.
that. But look at all these beliefs you have. Look at all of these blockages you have.
Yeah.
I'm going to show them to you in all of these great lessons. And then we lock up and go, oh, it's too intense. I feel so unimportant. Like, I'd rather just go find someone that I can like have all these codependencies with than like this person that I really, really, really enjoy. And I'm so excited for them and they're really into me, but like, he doesn't keep me safe. Like he doesn't, there's so much open-endedness. So it's too scary. And yet there's the
Yes.
universe going, here, just feel through this wound of not feeling important, and you will
Yeah.
get the love that you're desiring. But we have to be willing to do like to see all of that. And it's just so it can be so intense. But until we are willing to step into that desire and really identify it and then allow the lessons to show us our wounds, like we're gonna be in very unsatisfied situations.
For sure. Do you want to go back and forth a little bit? Like you say a desire you have for your like romantic love life, and then I do, and then maybe we share an obstacle to it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Sure. Go, do you have an idea? You go first though. Cause
I
yeah, yeah.
think, okay, so one of the things I'm recognizing is like, oh, boom, like my like, so I have a real faculty of like really, really deep self-knowledge. When I listen to, I mean, we all do, but I feel like it's right there. And I just, in many ways, like this treasure trove of truth and self, it's like right there. But I've been to degrees, I've like continually written it off, especially in these love spaces. And and so I'm just like, and one of the ways I just have, one of my obstacles is just really sharing what I want. So I'm really excited to start practicing this. And I actually think like a support group space where we just go around and practice that would be so powerful. So okay, I'm gonna try. I ooh, this is hard. I'm remembering back to the time I told you what I wanted to do with my poetry, and that was like the whole world. I felt like the whole universe like trembled and shook when that happened. Kind of feels like that now. So, oh, okay. So I want a partner who both like deeply desires me and is willing to really hear my and like deeply value my deepest down obstacles to getting to a place of profound intimacy in myself and with him, and who's willing to do that work himself and just like give each other, like lay these like gorgeous truths at the altar of each other, in this like continual burning away toward just increasingly gorgeous intimacy.
Awesome.
You?
I mean, I resonate with everything you just said. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, as you were saying it, I could feel that desire and also the like kind of quivery like ooh as well, because like it is hard to announce because there's a part of us that believes it not to be possible, right? So like, oh, you have to also
Yeah.
feel the like sadness of like this isn't what's happening right now, and like I still don't feel this is possible. But yeah, like okay, oh my gosh, how would I even word this desire? Yeah, to I mean, I think it is to be um seen in my or witnessed in my complexities and like the intricacies of who I am, and for someone to just like, oh wow, like I see this person and I understand them. There's this like um yeah, this ability for us both to be so vulnerable and open and truthful and I guess just genuine, be loved for exactly who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, I've shared on this podcast a lot that like I was such a great people pleaser and transformer to whoever I needed to transform into for other people to
Yeah.
love me. So like stepping out of that and just
Oh,
being my true self and getting to be loved in that way. And then I think for me, one of, and they, you know, this is like actually kind of a wound, but I want to believe in my relationship that, um, yeah, I desire a relationship in which I'm valued so immensely that like it feels like there's just this completeness. And oh my gosh, that's almost like hard to talk about it out loud, right? Because like also
God.
I'm like judging myself as I'm saying these things. Like it's so fascinating how I have like all these like, oh, this is your wound. Oh, you just need to work through this, like, you know. But yeah, and
Ooh,
also a space in which I can continually explore these wounds, which is actually what I have right now. I feel this is really cool. Explore these wounds, be vulnerable with them, make mistakes, continue trying new things, and then there be
yeah.
the space for that like messiness and also just continual growth. Yeah.
Boom. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
This is putting my, this is like really out of my, I have kind of like a prude little pattern inside of myself.
Ooh.
Like anyway, I want to have like incredibly intimate sex with someone,
Fuck
and
yeah.
like and incredibly like with really, but I don't mean that almost in like a, I want like incredible intimacy at all levels, essentially.
Yeah.
Heart, like consciousness, body, and I want to see, I want to see and be seen in like and adored, really, in the most naked, like pure,
Yeah.
like truthful ways, and connect on that level.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what's been scary for me is like I think I have like pretty, and I think we all do at the heart, like pretty epic standards or desire, pretty epic level desires. And I've been like, oh, well, I'll just have to compromise and sacrifice those because I can't find that with a man or whatever. But but that's what I want. That's what I want. And I really want this deep, deep experience of witnessing all, like witnessing the wounds with deep value, care, and love, witnessing the truth and the light with deep value and love. And I really want some fucking joy too. Like I want joy and play and, and fun and adventure and creative, like creative collaboration. And I want someone to like I want to have a vision partner, and like create lives that we can joyfully create together and be in awe of the universe working, being our third teammate, like working with us to create and manifest these beautiful things.
Okay, and I want to really just underline right now what just happened is because I think that this can get really mistranslated, I guess. What I just heard you say was a bunch of really epic desires that I think are really cool. And I know you and your process, and I understand it through my own experience as well, that like while we're calling out to the universe for this thing to happen, there's also an element of detachment from like there's like we I think you and I are now realizing at like deeper levels than ever that this can't actually be a demand or expectation on a human. It's like totally our own self-responsibility to own any of the wounds that are blocking us from those things. But at the same time, unless we're desiring it and telling the universe, I want to believe this to be true. I want to believe this to be possible. I want to work through what I need to in order for it to happen. Like, you're not saying, hey, man, dude, guy that I'm interested in, show up and do this. Like, that's not what you're saying, which I think is really, really key to this discussion of desire is that you have to be willing to do two really hard things. One, identify your desire and call it out to the world. And two, take responsibility for all the reasons it's like not happening, basically.
100%. Yes. Beautifully said. You're right. 100%. Because again, we're not like another person can't overlay. Like say I got my heart's desire right now and some like incredibly beautiful, open-hearted, present, sexy man was just like beaming all that at me. Like that would be overlaid on top of all of my resistance and fear and unwillingness to satisfyingly receive that. And so my experience would still just be exactly what my experience is, which right now is a combination of like openness and desire to that and like, oh, scare, fear and insecurity and and self-doubt and all of that. Right.
Yep.
So like,
totally.
That's my work. And it's not, this can seem like woo-woo manifesting bogus stuff, but really as we work through this, it changes the way our energy flows and calls out to the world. And it just changes what we're inviting in for our own, growth. And we are an ecosystem of evolution, I feel, humanity. And we get what we want and need for our growth. And so it really does change things as we work through these old blocks and wounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope everyone listening, I feel like I'm ready to kind of wrap things up. I feel like that felt so full. How do you feel?
I feel great. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel really, really great.
Yeah. I think that in summary, I just want to encourage everyone to, if there's areas in which they feel dissatisfaction, that it not only, like I said, there's two things. It's desiring or being willing to feel your desires, being willing to explore what they are, because sometimes we don't even know, but willing to kind of go, what do I truly desire? And start experimenting with that and then be open to taking the responsibility for all of the kind of shitstorm that might show up to help you work through what you need to actually get that thing. And
Yeah.
I tell my clients this a lot. I go, okay, listen, we're going to work on some desire creation and like exploration. And once you really start desiring something, I'm just going to warn you, shit might hit the fan. Like you might, like things might start just getting turned upside down because in order for you to have your desire, things are going to have to shift and change. And I'm like, so
Yes.
forewarning, like I'm here, we're going to work through it. Like we can do this. But like, if you don't have what you want in your life right now and you really do desire it, you're going to have to like, work on some stuff. And so,
Mm.
so I would, and
Yeah.
that's like a beautiful thing. What an opportunity. But I think that the turmoil that shows up sometimes can be so scary that people like back off and they just kind of like write off whatever they were pursuing. So to be ready to do two things: one, actually feel from your soul and your deepest places these desires, and then be willing to like actually work through whatever comes up on that path.
Oh, but God, do I ever testify to the demolition derby that is pursuing your desires? Oh my God, on every level, every area of life. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so emotional resilience, being able to truly move through these things is key. Or else there's just no way around it because it's
Yeah.
big. But it's beautiful. Okay, let's wind up. But thank you
I'm
all
good.
so much for listening. It's exciting and fun.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. I don't even know what we're going to talk about next, but it's going to be good. Excited to be back
It'll
on
be
here
so
doing
good.
this. So love you, Chelan.
And love you.
Mwah. See you later.